Daily Broadside, day 691. Tell you a story, two quick stories there, and a rumination about something else. A couple days ago, I was in a pizza place, paying way too much for a pizza buffet. It's good pizza, but come on, man. Two people shouldn't cost $32 to eat pizza. Anyway, it's the last time I let my son pick where we eat lunch. I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting next to this older couple. When I say older, they're in their 70s easily, probably upper 70s. And we're sitting, real close to each other. We're right next to the windows, and it's on the corner of like a shopping mall. And so a car comes around the corner, and I'm listening to these people. And there's a Buick Encore, one of these little SUVs goes by, tiny little SUV, and it stops to let somebody back out on. And they're just sitting there, and I hear the guy, and he looks at it, he's like, "That's one of those new Buick Encore," and they're like smitten with this vehicle. And I thought to myself, I've always wondered who looks at an Oldsmobile or a Buick, or hell, a Cadillac for that matter, and thinks to themselves, that is something I would like to have in my driveway, because nothing that they have ever made, Oldsmobile 442, none of that crap has ever appealed to me. I can't think of one thing that Buick or Oldsmobile has ever made where I'm like, I would like to have one of those. But it is interesting watching that generation just get goo-goo over a damn Buick Encore. And I'll say this, when I was probably in 9th grade, I know I wasn't driving, so it was probably just before I got my license. We had, as most families did, a video recorder. My mom comes to me one day, she's like, "I need you to go to church with me and film something for me." This is like Wednesday night. It was a Lutheran church that I grew up in, right? And I was like, "What do you need me for?" She's like, "I need you to film me playing the handbells." My mom is a longtime handbell player, right? She's one of the bass bells, right? And we have mocked her mercilessly for this throughout much of her adult life. And I was like, "Why do you got a tripod?" Well, she's like, "I want you to film it so that I can hear what it sounds like and all that stuff." I'm like, all right. Now, I'm 15 years old, okay? And I have the maturity of a 15-year-old, all right? It's pretty much the same maturity I have now, except I'm not legally adult. So I go with her begrudgingly. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm sitting there listening to them. They're practicing for some kind of Christmas, program that they're doing at the church in the handbells. And there's probably like 8 or 9 women in this handbell group, from the little tiny ringity-ding-ding Walmart bells, that the Salvation Army uses, all the way down to my mom, who's playing this like 19-pound, hammer, what's it called? Why am I losing my thought? What's a hammer? Anyway, whatever. Kettlebell, that's what I was trying to say. She's playing like a kettlebell, basically. And so I start filming, and I was very familiar with the camera because I've grown up making, home movies and everything, so I knew how to use all the zoom and all the fade-ins and all that kind of crap. And so I start mocking the process. And I'm zooming in on like all the, again, I'm 15, so give me credit here. I'm zooming in on like people's tits, and I'm like commenting. I know all these women, right? Because like their kids are my friends, and like we grew up together. So I know all these people, and I'm calling them by name. I'm like, "Oh, Sally, you looking good today playing that handbell." And I'm just making a completely inappropriate mockery of this whole process. And so we get done. She's like, "Did you capture it?" I'm like, "Got some good footage. I think you'll like it." All this, and we go on home. So Sunday rolls around, or I don't remember when it was. It was like 2 days later, maybe they practiced like a couple days later. But I'm sitting there watching TV or something, and she comes home from church again, madder than a hornet's nest. And I was like, she comes in yelling, screaming for where I'm at, and I'm like, "I'm right here, what's the problem?" And she's like, "You're an idiot, you're a complete idiot." I'm like, "What?" She's like, I couldn't jump up fast enough to push stop on that damn VHS tape that you just started mocking everywhere. You were showing, like, you were zooming in on people and all this stuff. And I'm like, "Well, you didn't tell me you were going to show that to the entire choir." She's like, "I said we were using it to see how we sounded." I'm like, "You said you were showing it for yourself. I thought it was for your own, like, gratification, edification. I thought you were trying to improve as a handbellist." I don't know if that's I guess is what a trumpeter, handbellator, whatever it's called. Somebody plays a handbell. But she was pissed. And I said, "Well, what did they hear?" I didn't really get into the good material till later on in the video. She's like, "They heard enough. I traversed, a 30-yard run across the room to push just kind of dive and hit stop. And it was very, very embarrassing in front of all my friends and everything like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can see where that would be embarrassing. And so that was the last time that anyone ever asked me to film their handbell choir, or anything in church, in a church setting for that matter. I watched a video last night of someone feeding a grizzly bear. Where, I have no idea. A park in the wild, I don't know. But they had like what looked like a sandwich or something, and they're like handing it to the bear. And they are within like 7-8 feet of the bear. Well, of course, the bear, being a bear, it's curiously trying to figure out if it wants what you have. And then when it decides it wants it, it just slaps it out of his hand. And then the video cuts off, and we don't get to see what happens and all. But, I just wish we had. I've never seen the movie, but I think it's what it's about is Adam Sandler's in that movie Click, where he can like pause real life. I think that anybody that gets mauled by a bear, we should have the ability to just pause life and just be like, as like the bear is taking its first swipe, just pause. And then we get to interview the person and be like, well, Gerald, what do we think we've made of our life choices right now? And then he can be very honestly, he'll be sweating profusely and all, because he knows he has to go back to real life when we're done with the brief interview. And he gets to kind of survey his choices that he's made. And as a reward for, begrudgingly, being involved in the interview, he can then talk to his family and say, listen, I got to go back in a minute and get my head ripped off by a bear and have my stomach entrails eaten while I'm dying, still alive. But I want you all to know never to do this ever again. This is your father speaking. I made a series of follies and bad decisions, the likes of which I will never get to retake. And then we just be like, all right, well, enjoy. And then we push play, and then you can circulate those videos around so that the rest of humanity can say, this is a bad idea. Stop feeding animals that are apex predators. I don't know why we think things that are so cute we can just, as they say, boop on the nose. It's just not a good idea. I mean, dogs will growl at you if you try to get near their food while they're eating. What do you think a 750-pound bear is going to do with claws the size of knitting needles? It's crazy. But anyway, y'all have a great one, kitty.